Right after Richard Nixon was elected in 1968, I had the privilege of attending a strategy session run by the left. It was essentially run by the Civil Rights Coalition. And before me was laid out how they operated. I had seen the effect of this many times, but I didn't know the mechanics. And what I saw was a mixture of think tanks, of political action committees, of lobbies, of interest groups, and they all interacted with each other. Even journalists were there, and they all interacted with each other in order to bring about a particular desired result. Having seen this mechanics, if you will, I became maniacal in telling everybody that would listen to me, I know how the other side operates. We need to set up something similar.
That analysis was discussed out, thought out. We called it the real nature of politics, and we began to try to persuade philosophically committed conservatives that that was the true analysis, that the Sir Galahad theory of I will win because my heart is pure isn't valid in the real world, and that we had a moral obligation to study how to win. And if we allowed the left to learn how to organize, communicate, raise funds, run an election campaign, how to organize a big mass-based movement, and we didn't, and they did it better than we did, they would win and beat us no matter how right we are. So we undertook to do that, and at one point, analyzing what is the largest available resource that is currently unemployed in politics that would be on our side with respect to public policy, we came upon the idea of activating theologically conservative Christians in the public policy process.
You are love.
Hello, I'm Rick Humbard, and today the entire Humbard family is singing, I'm so glad I'm part of the family of God.
We are free to love each other. You are love.
But in those days, most conservative pastors felt that it was no part of their calling to become involved in any way with the public policy process.
Why not?
Well, that was the history of conservative theological Christians, was to a very great degree focus on theology and on saving souls, and the act of participation in politics, running for office or even getting themselves registered and voting was just not part of what they did.
And again. And again. Praise the Lord. And let's give the crossway.
These folks, they had operated essentially in a ghetto. Yeah, we know that abortion is legal, but we're teaching our kids not to have them. And so you couldn't get them active on that basis. But as soon as Carter moved against the Christian schools, they suddenly realized they couldn't remain in their ghetto any longer.
So we set about, in a very systematic way, to try to identify some prominent leader of conservative Christianity in order to see about awakening theologically conservative Christians to the importance of participation in politics. And we settled upon the pastor of the Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, the Reverend Jerry Falwell.
From the auditorium of the Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, the Faith Partners and Friends present Jerry Falwell. and the old-time gospel hour, celebrating over 27 years of Christian ministry.
Well, every minister of the gospel is controversial because the gospel itself is controversial.
A number of us went down and met with Dr. Falwell, and Paul specifically said to him in the conversation that I believe, sir, that there is out there a moral majority waiting to be organized.
Falwell says, wait a minute, wait, go back. What was it you said? And I didn't know what he was getting at, so I said something else. He said, no, you said out there is what? And I said, oh, a moral majority. He turned to his people and said, that's the name of the organization.
Oh Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Oh Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth.
The high point of the week is an assembly conducted by Dr. Falwell himself. His theme, the need for Christians to become active in politics by turning local congregations into blocks of voters that will unseat politicians who are held to undermine the American way of life.
The moral issues that when I started in the ministry 28 years ago were exclusively moral have all become in a volatile fashion political.
We have a threefold primary responsibility. Number one, get people saved. Number two, get them baptized. Number three, get them registered to vote.
Every sin in the world can largely be placed at the feet of a liberal pulpit.
Through a political mass movement he has founded called Moral Majority, Inc., Falwell has formed an alliance with some of the most sophisticated operators in American politics. These are the experts in direct mailing, a multi-million-dollar growth industry that uses the electronic wizardry developed by the mail-order business to combine fundraising with political propaganda.
And it worked magnificently well. In the run-up to the 1980 elections, Falwell did a very simple, extraordinarily effective program. He had, over the years, developed a list of something like 90,000 conservative pastors, and the pastors in their tens of thousands who began to activate their congregations in our political system for the first time viewed that they were defending their views, their principles, their culture against assault.
And now, here is Dr. Jerry Falwell. This program today is not political. It's totally based upon the importance, the sanctity of religious freedom in the United States of America. And published now this booklet entitled Declassified Material. Declassified Material. It's a briefing on why we oppose an immediate nuclear freeze. I'd like for you to have this booklet. It's information that every American ought to have, every pastor ought to have, every Sunday school teacher ought to have.
In your office or wherever, hanging in the right place at the right time to say the right thing, thank God for freedom. So, would you right now call us on our toll-free number and order the flag kit?
We were not conservative in the usual sense, because conservatives in the classical sense seek to conserve the status quo. The status quo had become rotten from our point of view, so we were radicals in the sense of getting, in the real meaning of that word, which is getting back to the roots of this country.
Using the techniques you'd seen on the left.
Yes.